Welcome to the Performance Enhancing Podcast. It's like steroids for your brain. A podcast for people looking to live life at their peak potential. Chock full of real-world tools and knowledge that you can apply in your life today. By providing you with a lens into the lives, beliefs, practices, and actions of those who are already living extraordinary lives, the Performance Enhancing Podcast will help you shift your mindset or create that change in your daily rituals and habits so you can explode with success in the areas of life that are most important to you. So get ready for another dose of Performance Enhancing Podcast with SatoriPrime. Here's your host, Ferdman.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Performance Enhancing Podcast, or PEP Talk, with your host, Ferdman. And I am just a host for the next few sessions, actually. So my brother and the goddess herself, Marci, decided to sit down and have a 2-hour-long conversation about everything awesome. Topics range from ayahuasca to raising kids to manifesting, and I quote, like a motherfucker, to healing oneself, to surrender and love. It was just such a great, raw conversation, and I think you guys need to at least hear it. So I'm actually going to stand in the background for the next 4 episodes. It was 2 hours, so I'm going to break it up into 4 chunks. And this one specifically, they started talking around their ayahuasca experience. You've heard Guy and I speak about this before. Can't recommend it highly enough. Marci actually just took a group out to Costa Rica, and they did 6 days in the jungle, which is amazing. Guy's actually going to do that with her coming up in November. But if you guys want to find out about their initial, kind of how they heard about it, their first time doing it, what that was like, that's all going to be stuff in this part over here. So I hope you enjoy it. And stay tuned. The conversation really goes all over the place. So we're going to do this in 4 parts. And this is part 1. Enjoy.
Yeah, no, I just want to say it's just so important what you were saying about, again, in investigations into phenomenology. Phenomenology happens on both sides of the spectrum, both in the dark and the light. And you're so right. We live in a place, San Diego, where the conversation is so much.
Jess.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Pause.
Pause and just watch the video. Looking pretty.
There's a pervasive conversation about light out here in San Diego, but not so much about darkness in San Diego. And for me, it comes out as an authenticity. That's for me, because there's no balance in life without the two. You want to see light in your life, go right into the dark. Smash head first into it. You'd be like, holy shit, there's a lot of light in here. Yeah. But otherwise, it's just positive thinking, and positive thinking is putting whipped cream on a shit pie and then feeding it to people. Yeah. It's still gonna taste like shit. You can put a pound of whipped cream on there, it still tastes shitty. So the real work is in removing the gunk that's been built up over the years. Yeah. But when people do developmental work and they're learning phenomenology, which is really what they're learning, and getting distinctions and learning how to take responsibility and have integrity in their lives. But when you learn about the negative stuff, it doesn't mean overcome it. It doesn't mean start fighting it and defeat it and try to beat it.
Or change who you are.
You can't. You cannot. Yeah. It's until you guys get to a point where what she's talking about, where you can bring compassion and love to the darkest parts of yourselves, the one that you hate the most. You can love it as much as you love your mother, if you love your mother, and if you don't, they probably want to work on that too. Bring that kind of level of love to those parts of yourself. You're gonna find the fight disappears. Because it's really a partnership is what you're looking for. I look at everything today like it's a relationship. If you want to do great work on yourself, learn about relationships, because all of life, language is built.
How you relate to yourself.
Exactly, it's all relating. This tool, your thing called language, all it does is create distinctions, so you have relationships between one thing and another. That's the entire freaking thing. So if you look at, you have relationship to self, relationship to health, relationship to your spouse, relationship to money, relationship to happiness. It's all relationships. So it's what's your relationship? Now, if you've had healthy relationships, look at what made that relationship work. There was great communication, you took responsibility when you needed to, there was fun, play, and ease in that area of your life, stuff like that. And that's every area of life. If you bring the stuff that's worked for you into all these things and just look at them like a relationship, that means you can't hate it. Like, imagine trying to be in a relationship with a woman or a man, you're like, I fucking hate you, let's make this thing work.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to try to defeat you and fight you, let's make this thing work. Like, there's no
I'm going
hope.
to tolerate or sacrifice or settle, because you can't sacrifice your way to serenity.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no hope. So I think a lot of people struggle with the terminology of surrender, because especially in American culture, it sounds like giving up or like not trying anymore. And it's so the opposite of that. So, to me, at least, the definition of surrendering is to accept what is and what isn't in every single moment of life. And ultimately, I will say that, like, we see duality, but duality doesn't really exist. Like, in life, like, everything's just arising together. So, like, to me, the opposite of surrender is power. And the access point to power is to surrender.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you want power in your life, which most people want power, freedom, full self-expression, magic, stuff like that, you can't access it if you're not willing to surrender, or at least you get snippets and then you'll back off. Snippets and then back off. So I know I'm not answering your question at all.
I don't even know what question I asked.
I don't even know if there was a question.
Every time, like, we could just go off a million places at all these amazing thoughts, but I love, like, right when you said surrender, I'm like, oh, yes, that's the perfect example of it. And my little boy, so my boys got to come down and do the journey with me.
Amazing.
And my 12-year-old, in the moment of, like, he's like, my body's like, his body was starting to go numb and some things, and then the scary thoughts were coming up. All the darkness gets to come up, right, to release, because we had set intentions of things he wanted to release and let go of. And literally in that moment, and I'm just like, babes, I'm like, let your body just surrender. I'm like, there's nothing to fight here. It's just saying, relax, be at peace. And it's just like, think about, I'm thinking like yoga or something, where you're just like, if you're like trying to fight the peace, there is no peace.
Yes.
But when you're just like, oh, I'm just supposed to sink into this and relax into this and be in this. Also, it was this beautiful thing he just got to, like, feel the release of and let go. And he said to me, I shared this with you, it literally brought tears to my eyes for my 9-year-old or my 12-year-old to say, Mom, he's like, I'm so proud to be your son and thank you for this experience. And this is as he was feeling his darkness. Like, he was loving the darkness. And that's the whole point of everything. So it's like, how do you experience the surrender when your body is in a state of, like, I can't control, I just get to be, like, and that's not to say that that's always the experience. There's plenty of times where I'm like, cool, you're completely conscious and at all times, and yet you're not. And I could go outside and do these things, and other times my body's like, you can't fucking move. You just get to be here and experience this and be in a surrender.
Yeah.
And that is, like, the most beautiful gift of allowing ourselves to see that there's no more control, there's no more fight. When it's just, can you love everything? And something that I wanted to bring attention to when you were saying that is that space and understanding of surrender. And you were like, can I bring light to the darkest crevices of myself and my soul and love everything about me, love that I ever experienced anything. And so this is attesting to authenticity, which we were talking about the other day, and we could probably go off on for hours, right? Is that if I think I don't want anyone to know, so if we were worried that people were gonna have judgments about us, this conversation, these things could never exist.
Sure, of course.
Just like if I in the past was worried that, you might ever know anything that I've ever experienced in the past, then it'd be like, okay, I have to worry about hiding this. And you're actually, all your effort and your attention, your energy is hiding what is you. Mm-hmm. But when you go, guess what?
Fuck it.
I fucking experienced this and this and this and this and this and all these things, from rape attempts to kidnappings to stalkers to heart attacks to, like, every little piece of me, to being cheated on. In the past, I was like, oh my gosh, if somebody knew that my ex cheated on me, then they might think that there's sex issues and and you just, like, stories, right? There's so much effort and energy trying to hide who you are. But when you go, oh, like, I experienced this and I experienced that, guess what? It's out there. Yeah. So there's nothing to hide. There's no judgment, but it takes being in that place of saying, like, there's no judgment. Everything I've ever experienced is perfect and beautiful. That takes loving the darkness. And then when you were saying that, what I was thinking is kind of what I was attuning to earlier, where I was saying it's almost, if you lost everything, can you totally be okay? Like, if you died, you would 100% be like, I've lived the perfect, amazing life in this experience. But how do you get to that?
Really good question. Okay, so I want to talk about gratitude. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about completion. Mm-hmm. And Yeah, so just to go back, with the surrender stuff, I have found, and I'm sure anyone could attest to this in their experience, that whatever your life experience has been, for the most part, given a long enough timeline, there's that old like frame for comedy. It's like tragedy plus time equals comedy. And life is kind of like that. Life is kind of like that too,
never heard
right?
that, but okay.
I'm sure everyone
Yeah.
can map it. So it's like your tragedy in your life too, with enough time.
Yeah, you're
it's
like,
funny,
haha.
haha, that happened, right? So, and then that's the stories you tell and you laugh about it, like that horrible thing that happened to you, but now it's hilarious. So if that's the case, looking back after a long enough timeline at anything in your life, there's nothing but gratitude. You're like, thank God that happened. Otherwise, I wouldn't be who I am today. So for me, it's like, depression, suicide, all that stuff happened. But like looking back at my life, the best gift of my life were those 7 shitty years. And why? Because like now when I coach people, and this is what I think makes me such a good coach in this lifetime, and don't tell me that wasn't by divinity that I had to experience that kind of trauma. I have empathy from range to range. I have slept in the bedrock and I have been with the stars, right? Like that's my range in my lifetime. And I look at kids now and people say like, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. It's like, no, they chose that experience. Why? Because this is their karma. They got to catch the fuck up to where they were last time. And the trauma is the onset. Look, life is trying to teach you the lessons all the time anyway. Sometimes it sends a chihuahua. Well, at first it sends a chihuahua. It's like trying to give you hints. It's like, and the chihuahua's going to poke you in the ass and like kind of bite you a little bit. And you're like, get the fuck off me. But eventually, like, if you don't pay attention, like the Doberman's coming and that motherfucker's going to take off your head. It's like, you're going to pay attention. By the way, that's what cancer is, right? Like, for a lot of people, cancer transforms their lives. Why? Because it's like high trauma that it puts everything into perspective. Life is at risk. Suddenly it's like, transformation happens. So to go back to this idea, the things that seem turbulent, and again, look at your own life, the blessings that came quick often turn into the curses. The curses that are like, I can't believe this is happening to me right now, often are the things you look back and go, thank God, thank God, thank God, right? So there's a moment, like a length of appreciation. Here's my coaching. Don't wait. Like whatever is happening right now that seems traumatic to you, bring that level of gratitude to it the way that you see it. Like 5 years from now, I'll appreciate this. No, fuck that. Don't wait the year, don't wait the months. Like right now, like I had a relationship that ended 6 weeks ago. Everybody keeps asking me like, how are you so okay? And the reason I'm so okay is because I have nothing but gratitude. I just sit there and go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And even when I'm crying and in pain and I'm writhing and I miss her and my best friend's not there, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that's definitely something I learned from ayahuasca, because even when the physical pain was there, the lessons would be so beautiful because there's a time collapse. And I wouldn't see the separation between the pain and the lesson at all. And I would just sit there and go, holy shit, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now whenever there's pain, I'm just like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I think that's like the lead point to surrender. Just that attitude of gratitude allows you to surrender to what's so. The other thing I wanted to mention is, with being able to put my life at risk for everything, and like having that context of like, it's so important my life is at risk. I live my life that way, and I have a feeling you do too, because if you've spent any time around Marci, it's like everything's a fuck yes. And you only live that way when you understand that like nothing is guaranteed, right? Like every moment, let's get the most we can out of this, because like why waste your fucking time with things you don't want to? So I want to say that, and you can speak for yourself, but I'll speak for me, and I have a feeling you're at this level too, and probably surpassed it, is that we've done so much work to complete everything in our lives. There's pretty much nothing, if very little, that maybe it's outside of our view, that's left unsaid to people and circumstances. We've done the work to take responsibility for like every relationship,
every moment, what you're thinking, what you're feeling,
and we're not perfect. We'll fuck it up, but we'll always be the first ones to take responsibility for it. So when we walk into experience, there's not really a lot of fear about dying, because we're not going to be filled with regret on our last moments on this planet, because we're going to be like, that was fucking awesome. We should do that again. Like, and it's that work over 20 years of doing inner work and seeing, holy shit, I can really get responsible for all my relationships, all these things that have happened, all the circumstances. And when you start taking responsibility for it, you're not really left with much baggage. And I think that's the same thing when people like die around you. People who are devastated by someone passing is because there's a lot of incompleteness there. They didn't get to say everything they need to say. They didn't really take responsibility for something. And we're the same way. It's a relationship to self also. And I think that's given me a lot of peace. So I just want to give her a huge compliment, because I've met a lot of people in my life, and there's a lot of people out there succeeding in many ways. But I'll even use like Gary Vee as an example, you know, who I know is a workaholic and is doing amazing things. I'm sure will become a billionaire, probably the owner of the Jets at some point in his life. But you ask him about his relationship with his wife and his kid, and it's not great.
Yeah.
And to me, that lacks integrity. And when I met Marci, and she said the same thing to me, and I thought it was one of the most beautiful acknowledgments anybody's ever given me, is that there's there's integrity everywhere, at the business level, at the relational level, at the health level. You look across and you're like, handled, right? Like everywhere. And to me, that's a really rare thing. And out of that conversation, my brother and I are starting a whole movement of like having it all. And what it means for us is like having integrity everywhere. So I wanted to at least tell you guys that what attracts me so much to this woman is that. And what attracts me so much to this being is that. And it's something that I wish more people would take the time to invest in looking at the different areas, because for me it's like, if Gary Vee, you know, and I love him, I would love to spend time with him also, would invest time in getting integrity around his relationships, his business would also
catapult to a whole other level.
Yeah, and it's these little things that we don't see how they're intertwined with each other. I'm sorry, and one more thing. You know, like, I know Marci gets on the webinar, and this is how she is. I know Marci gets off that fucking webinar, and this is how she is. Marci is with her kids, and this is how she is. With her friends, with her family, like, it's just Marci. And I'm the same way, and it's a gift I gave myself a few years ago. I'm like, wait, I don't have to show up differently for fucking anybody, right? Like, this is it. Night and day, I wake up, I go to sleep, we're always the same. So I know I said a lot there, but I want to leave you with that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you got me like, aw. So, and it attests to even why we're doing this. It was a fuck yes, and we both follow inspiration. So, I mean, even us connecting, we just, like, the first time we connected, had the most in-depth, beautiful conversations. We're like, wow, we both fucking get it. There's not a lot of people out there that are this level of understanding and living in alignment. And I always say, like, you can say there's 3 types of people. There's spectators, participants, creators. 1% are creators. They're like the entrepreneurs,
yes,
etc. creating. And even out of that, you used a great example, Gary Vee. Entrepreneurs are like, well, I can have the business, but I sacrifice the relationship or the body, etc. And for me, I'm like, I believe there's 1%. There's probably not even 1% of the 1% who live in this level of alignment where you strip to the core all the shit and you go, I am perfect, whole, and complete.
Yeah.
I am infinite light. I am limitless possibility. Fucking right now, whatever I'm vibrating, I'm creating. Whatever thought or perception or energy I'm giving, I am literally creating right in this very moment. So, that's right. Money is fucking effortless. Oh, my body is effortlessly meant to be here, and I'm meant to have epic relationships because I'm worthy of that, because I stripped away all the shit. So living that level of alignment of saying this is what I am worthy of. Now I simply choose what it gets to look like for me and what process I get to create. And the thing I really want to tap into around all of this is are you willing to go to the depths to find the treasure? Less than 1% of the 1% choose to remember the truth. They can have anything and everything they want. It's simply a choice. And you're gonna learn easy or hard, right? Like we already know there's dark and there's light. It's all beautiful. It's all part of the process. You're gonna learn either way.
Yeah.
So when do you just decide to choose, I want to learn through light, or I want to learn through love and happy and understanding and letting go of any thoughts or stories that are the dark. But and this is why, like, I wanted to bring some sort of a voice to the experiences of ayahuasca and using plant-based journey to the healing, the medicine. I mean, we didn't even tap on the healing possibilities with the body and all these other things. And yet it's like, by going to those depths, I find the treasure. And then by going again, so for me, even just personally, what just happened, the shift of coming out of the jungle. And it's funny because I have some of my friends who are in that 1% that are not the 1% of the 1%. They're the 1% that are entrepreneurs, creators. They're famous, worldwide known influencers. They're even like, I had one of my really good friends, he's a really well-known, famous guy. And he's like, Mars, how the fuck are you charging that for personal clients? He was one of my first mentors. And he's like, I've been doing this for 15 years before you.
Yeah.
How are you charging? Because, you know, 150, 250,000 for a personal client. And now my up level, just from being in the jungle recently, I'm like, I'm receiving $1 million clients.
Yep.
That's my level of shift, because I'm even more attuned to the alignment of what I'm worthy of and what I can create and my abilities. And that takes you going, okay, I'm willing to face the dark. I'm willing to go where most people won't. And I'm gonna, because it's like, kind of, you think about diving to the depths of the dark sea and you find the pearl and the diamonds you wouldn't find if you didn't fucking go down there into the dark. And I mean, that's the best analogy or feeling I guess I can really do to express like why it drew to me, and why I was like, hey, it's easy for me to go to trainings, to read books, to go to seminars, all that, to have coaches, to process, to visualize, all that. Okay, where have I never allowed myself to go that opens up a whole nother space of reality for me that I have not allowed myself to face and see? That is what it did for me and gave me the opportunity to discover, which just made me come out of it. Literally, I came out last year even being like, I'm fucking effortless.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And I'd already done 20 years of inner work, being like, I'm committed to awesomeness. I believe if there's anything saying that I'm not experiencing awesomeness, wow, that's something I get to go inside and say, why would I believe I couldn't have? What's the stories with things around that? And yet, there was this whole other level, and now there's still this whole other level, and I'm still continually expanding into the greatest version of myself, obviously.
Of course.
So, thank you. And I'm your fucking mirror, right? So, I mean, the fact that we're doing this, yes, most people will say it's really hard to get into my space because it's fuck yes only and what I want to put my attention on. And I was with Guy last week. We both were excited to connect after me getting back. You did a journey. I was down there for 3 weeks doing it. Yeah. And to come back and just hear even our whole nother level and understanding and visions and where we're going now. Yeah. And it was just like, wow, like this beautiful gift of what is possible. But every time I connect with you, I'm just like in so much awe of the genius, your genius, of the possibilities of the parameters broken down. Like you can go off and I can just sit there and be like, I'm so entertained right now by this, right? And then this shifts where then you go, and then I'm like, and we're just like, okay, we're perfect mirrors. So thank you, and I appreciate that I'm your mirror.
Yeah.
That's a huge compliment. And I see the exact same thing. That's why we're here doing this.
Yes.
So.
And more for the audience at home or whoever's listening, I just want to let you guys know, I've learned over the years informational learning makes no difference. Like none. It's an access point to giving you a visual into the experiential, but without experience, it's nothing.
Thank you.
And ayahuasca is a completely experiential thing, and we could talk to you guys about it forever. But I always use the analogy, if you sat in front of me and never rid a bicycle before, and balance, like getting balance on the bicycle, is an experiential type of learning, right? Yeah. I can talk to you about riding the bicycle for 40 hours, how to grip the handlebars, pedal the wheels, we could understand physics, so many things we can understand about it, how the wind would feel in your hair. But if I put you on that bike for the first time, you don't have a shot in the dark of riding it. No shot. But then you get balance, and that's an experience you have for the rest of your life. No one can take it away from you. You can get better at it, you can get worse at it, but balance is in now, right? Yeah. So there's a methodology to it, to riding that vehicle. This is also a vehicle, and there's a methodology to riding this. So here's what I want to ask you, because I imagine that you don't let people into your space very often because you're at a point of success in your life where everybody's trying to dig for the fucking blueprint. And I imagine to you that's not so fun because you also understand that that's not really how this shit works. Which is, when I got around you, I was like, I don't want to know anything about your business. I didn't give a fuck about it at all. I'm like, this is an incredible woman. She's had incredible life experience, and all I want to do is I'm so interested in your experience. Okay, so there's certain things when I'm thinking about manifesting something, or I want to create an experience I draw upon. So I'm not asking, I want to get in your world a little bit, and not from a blueprint process kind of thing. I sit down and I journal, and then after I journal, I talk to Bobby, and then when Bobby says this, we create together, and it's just everything happens. None of that shit.
That was a whole new personality I didn't even know you had.
I got, there's 16 more in there. Yeah, we'll get in there.
Awesome.
So that's the one for Bobby, and you guys are welcome. And
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
There's the New York one.
That's the other one. So I always wonder, I'm okay, because, and the reason I'm asking this is I have had the experience of this woman can manifest like crazy. She's just so
like a motherfucker.
And that's exactly the attitude, right? That no doubt attitude. So what is your experience when you're manifesting? What are you holding?
I love that you asked me this. It's a knowing. So even when you used an amazing analogy, I love the bike analogy. I've always said, hey, you want to become a swimmer? You can read books on swimming and go to, again, visualize or talk to a coach or process why you're afraid of the water or whatever. Until you jump in the fucking water, you're not a swimmer. And that's why this experience is cellular level. I'll go speak at events, but I don't do one-day events, or I have literally 10-day massively transformational, my badass and my goddess, or 7 to 10 days massively cellular, structural, transformational experiences. Because in the experience, you face the shit. You see what really is there that you're never going to discover when you're just like, ooh, I'm in a safe room and I'm just thinking about, why am I, feeling this heavy emotion about this? And and what I was feeling like, the evidence, what I saw with my peeps that just came back and we did a recording, every single one of them was like, I just know, like I know at a cellular level, I know my capacity and power. I know what I'm worthy of. Like, none of those old silly stories in my human brain exist anymore. I just know it because they experienced it. And for me, there's all these behavioral tools. There's all these things you can go in the moment where I'm like, oh, so even coming back, when I was just leaving down there, it was like literally like a couple hours from going to the airport, I had this huge download of inspiration to share a little bit of my experience of that journey with my boys. And when I was doing that, it literally was like, I get to say, like, I feel like I'm calling. I have 5 people, and I told you about.
This is incredible. You should definitely share about that.
Okay, cool. So when I was actually in my experience, my journey with my boys, the shaman came around, and she was definitely like clearing some energy and doing stuff around me. And all of a sudden, she takes the stuff next to me and she moves it, and she builds up a pile of dirt. Because I'm like on a mat in the dirt, in this maloka, in the sacred grounds, and she puts my hand on this pile of dirt, and then she pops up my left hand by my sacral chakra, and all of a sudden I'm receiving like energy and downloads, and I feel this imprinting, and at first I was like, oh, am I receiving knowledge from Mother Earth? And it was like, nope, you're grounded by Mother Earth, so you're receiving downloads. All of a sudden, like you and I have talked about even the things like your body doing different things. My hand starts, I'm not doing it, my hand starts digging in the dirt. My eyes are closed, my hand's digging in the dirt, and it literally finds, in the dirt pile, finds a big rock, and it pulls it up, and it's like, oh, you're so-and-so. And I literally knew that this was a male, in Dubai. Like, I could feel from the jagged edges what their blocks were. I literally was like, oh, you're having you're struggling with, being heard in this way, expressing yourself so you can't influence the world to this degree, yet you're a high influencer. I literally had a conversation with this person, and it was like, yeah, I was being told, this person is waiting for you. This is the next highly influential worldwide game changer waiting for you to unblock him so he can release his more of the gifts and share more of the service to the world. So I had a conversation, was like, you ready? And he's like, yeah, I've been waiting for you. I'm like, all right, well, fucking message me and let's do this, bitch. And I was like, okay, so my level, I have clients. I literally am coaching one of the biggest companies in the world. And so I've created a level of, $250,000 to work with me personally. And I was like, okay, so in my mind, it was like, okay, so am I creating these people at another personal level, $250,000? And I was like, no. I was like, 500,000? She's like, no. I was like, it's $1 million. That's like baby food for these people. If they're not invested in themselves at $1 million, then, that's not the case. Like, they're not going to be invested. So I was like, okay, cool. So anyways, through this, I had taken this person and it was like, I got you, put it on my chest. Then my hand was like, blah, 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 like, go start searching again. Comes up with another one. I'm like, oh my gosh, a beautiful female. She's beautiful, and she is scared of being seen. She's one of those, amazing women who is so scared of and wearing the mask of like judgment and rejection and fear and hiding herself, and yet she's highly influential. Like, totally cool. I can see your blocks. I see what's going on. Yeah, you ready for this? You're calling into me, right? And I literally, my hand found 5. And then it was like, these are your next 5. And I usually take on 5 to 6 personal clients for a year. And so it's just like, this is the next level people that you get to receive. And it's at $1 million level. And I just got to take care of them. So in my, I already knew this. I was like, all right, awesome. I'm now receiving people at this level. And this is what it gets to look like. And there's been this calling this last week, even since I got home. It's like, and that means you get to up-level your house. So I'm like, okay, cool. Guess what? I already put it out there. Like, guys, I'm looking for this beach house, and it gets to be at this level so that my personal clients at this level can come mastermind with me and do this thing. And I felt the inspiration to share just a piece of my boys' experience. And I said, and literally it was like, you just got to put it out there. Now, let's think about when we have our human brain thoughts that are like, you kind of like are trying to draw attention to people. They come in and then, okay, well, then to coach with me, it's this amount, right? I was like, I just like, guess what, peeps? I'm taking 5 people, and it's $1 million price tag to work with me. Boom. Yeah. Right? And I got to just claim that and own it, just like you being the one for all the things that you're creating. There's no hiding from it. I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. So when I got back to San Diego, someone picked me up, and they're like, whoa, yeah, I saw that, we should call you Tony Robbins, and, wow, I don't know anybody who charges that. And again, the human brain goes, you know, if I say that, are people going to be like, oh, well, I was going to work with her, but, you know, I'm not $1 million level, or all these other shit things can show up, right? And I was like, guess what? Yep, and I know the level of worth. I know the shifts and changes I can create for people, that $1 million is nothing compared to what they go and create. When they go turn around and create 250 million, yeah, they're worthy of $1 million investment themselves. What would you
I just want you to give a little distinction, because you keep saying the human brain.
Yeah.
So what part of you would you say this belief is coming from? Like, where is this other voice coming from? Because people are so in their heads, they're listening to this shit, and they think it's their shit. They think this is them. It's not them, and they're just observing. So what are you listening to?
You said it earlier when you said, you know, all of a sudden you're realizing, like, your thoughts are like this thing that's running, and you realize, like, I'm not the thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm the thinker of my thoughts. I was choosing to allow myself to absorb this. When you catch yourself in that, and this is where I say there's this piece to this that's redesigning how you operate, aligning at like how you choose to think. So you catch yourself in the things that don't align, the things that don't feel good, which just means you're not actually you.
Yeah.
You're like in your shit stuff. That when I say the human brain, the ego mind, all these things are trying to work against you. The fear, the anything that's not excitement, curiosity, or wonderment. It's either fear or faith, right? When you're in faith, you're operating out of the true you. Oh, I'm excited. Let's see what this is. I'm going to create. But when you're like, oh no, what if, da-da-da. So when my human brain went, oh, is that too much? I'm back in reality, right? And it's like, is that too much? And you know, is there going to be judgment of, oh my gosh, Marci Locke thinks she can coach at $1 million level? And my knowingness goes, yes. Yeah. I know what I can create for other people. I know what I've experienced. I know this at a cellular level. Yeah, that's right. And then it's now me calling myself to follow, implement. Yes. So there's a whole level of implementation and integration that we could talk about, where it's like, so this is why I feel like there can be massive disconnects on plant-based journeys. People go out and they're you know, oh, I'm going to release a bunch of shit and let's trade our shit. And then we go right back into our lives where we have not learned the tools or done the processes to create it to be our beingness.
Yes.
So guess what? You recreate the same shit.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, well, what was the point of that? I felt like I released a lot of that, and then I came back and I'm still in depression and my relationships still don't work. Yes. Instead of, and this is why I take it as a very sacred thing, where I take my peeps that I feel like we've already done a ton of inner work. That they know how to operate. They know how to create moment by moment, living consciously, not reacting subconsciously. So then when they go to these depths that we couldn't see, and they have the beautiful gift of releasing the shit and like loving the darkness and seeing it for what it is, then they can come back and realign to that. So one of my clients I was talking with today, I'm like, if you're not in fucking awesomeness, which is your new norm, you question it, you go through your 5 steps, you presence, breathe, even presencing with what's happening with your breath brings you to presence, be like, ooh, what am I feeling? Wow. Where did that come from? And now we see it as, these silly human brain little thoughts that come in from my past experience. Interesting. Oh, that's right. That's that old belief or perception that I'm not worthy, or I'm not good enough, or I'm afraid of rejection. What is true? What do I really want? Yeah. I want to share my message. So I want to work with $1 million clients because they are fucking highly influential people who, when I fucking unblock them, how many times will I say fuck, right? Will they catapult to the world a greater degree? So of course, if I'm not even in the knowingness of myself to say, hey, guess what? This is what I'm doing. And one of my clients today was like, oh, she was kind of going back into a story of like, well, do I need the marketing of this? And I said, sweetness, remember. So some of my personal clients are like top internet marketers around the world. Yes. And they're always like, Mars, what are you doing for emails? I'm like, I don't have an email list. Mars, what are you doing for news? I don't do a newsletter. Mars, what are you doing for paid ads? I don't do paid ads. I love how I go podunk. Yeah. There's mine. And it's just saying the only reason I manifest at the level that I do is because I'm in alignment. Now, I chose to go to the depths, to find the treasures, to love the dark, to love all of me that allows me just fucking being here, vibrating right now. I'm attracting $1 million clients. That's manifesting.
Hey!
Hi, Chopper!
Hey!
Just take your
Fuck
shirt
you!
off. Let's just take our shirt off.
But guys, think about this. Like her game got up-leveled so much that she's, and I'm sure it didn't even occur as a thought as to why that was happening that way. But like $1 million client, of course it's going to be an influencer, and if she wants to influence in a big way on the planet, like that's the game. It's like training masters so they can go out there and be influencers too. That's totally my game too. I'm like here to identify and train masters because I want influential people who go out to their communities and fucking squash it and like create a revolutionary type of transformations in our environments. So of course, like it makes perfect sense. Perfect sense, right? We're either playing from the bottom or playing from the top. And that's
well, and there's all levels. See, and again, that's like, I mean, I have things from down to, you know, the book and the movement and my online programs and all this stuff, but where do I love to, it's again, aligning to, if I love myself and I'm fully worthy and I'm fully capable, I only do what I love, which is my zone of genius, which means I get to go fucking travel the world, do my crazy retreats, you know, work with these high level people that are going to create massive change. And even you and I were talking about how, I mean, you start with these little tiny inclinations, and this is where I think most people ignore it, right? Like, so you get the little inspiration, but then we're waiting till, well, when I can do that, then I'll do that.
Right.
Instead of, so right now, I'm receiving $1 million clients. What I'm doing, I've already said I'm fucking moving to a house on the beach with, you know, more space, etc. for my mastermind peeps. I'm already like putting my hand up and doing that.
Yep.
I'm not going, well, when the person shows up, then I can go do these things, which allows me to do that. So it's like taking that action on those little inspirations, which is the trusting in of yourself to move forward to that, to allow the creation of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I call that like creating the container.
Yeah.
Like you make a bigger container and like life just fills it up with stuff.
Well, and so let's when I was out in Colombia last year, someone had said, hey, would you come speak to the school, to these kids in Colombia? And I felt massive inspiration to do it. Since then, I had all these other things that show up to like, and my big intention was, I'm here to change the planet. I'm here to up-level the vibration of the planet, teach limitless possibilities, all these things. So these little tiny things show up. Now I'm like, holy shit, had visions of me teaching these kids and these kids in my mindset program in Colombia and the school that I fund, they're shifting their country. And then like all these other things. So now I'm like seeing this. I thought one of the things that I was really led to, before I left, you knew there was something showing up where I was like, holy shit, this is huge. This is gonna shift the vibration of the planet. Now that to me looks like this.
Wow.
And there's all these other things since, and this is like, what, 3 weeks ago before I left for Colombia? That there's all these other things where I'm like, oh no, it's this, and this huge level. This is shifting the world. And so one little aspect could do that. Like what I got led to in one country is changing that country, which is going to change the vibration of the planet in and of itself. And that's an inkling of my attention. So when you operate at this level of knowing, capacity, power, alignment, and this comes down to, I mean, if the body's off, obviously it's like your vessel isn't there to handle this energy. I got told in one of my ceremonies, it was like I had massive energy coming through me. I was healing people. You've done this.
Yes.
We've had in-depth conversations about this, healing people and this energy just coming through me and downloads for other people. And it was like, this is why you get to be so strong. This is why your body gets to operate at this level of alignment, because you can handle energy at this space and capacity and power. And even shifting into that, my experience coming out is now, like what I told you, how my body was like, whoa, shifting. And I'm like, I'm operating at a different level now that I could have ever even imagined, of energy, of intuition, of inspiration, of feeling, of everything. And when you first start to open up this space, you get these downloads. And I love, you are the one who told me this. You were saying that we are so attracted to superheroes because we see it in ourselves.
Yep. And
when you and I are having conversations about what you've been able to do with your body and healing and from your experiences, I was just like, dude, teach me.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I was like, can you show me that? And you were describing and understanding like how you literally could physically go in your body and do certain things with your cells because of these experiences.
Yes.
And then I was like, wow, it makes so much sense. We sit here like, oh, I wish I was a superhero.
Which voice is that?
I don't know. But it's like, oh, you know, we're attracted to Captain America and Spider-Man and Wonder Woman and all these things. And I wish I was that. And I'm like, holy shit, no wonder we're so attracted as a society to this story of superhero. You nailed it. I love that analogy. You're like, we see it in ourselves, and we just have not tapped into this capacity and power. So me coming out of the jungle, I'm like my body's now integrated to fifth dimensional consciousness. There's this knowledge and understanding, feeling of energy that I could have never back in the day ever imagined was possible. And it keeps changing. Yeah. And by going into this, being able to go into this stuff, that's where you're like, whoa, I know this. I can do this with my body. I'm worthy of this. All this comes from, are you simply someone who goes, I'm willing to go there to allow myself to find these things? Because you, my friend, have like the most incredible stories about what you can do with your body and healing and all this stuff that I was just like, guy, I want to do that too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Shit, I don't even know how to get into all that.
Yeah. You have a dick in your brain. I mean,
yeah.
Can we just say that?
There's a dick in my brain, guys.
So if you've ever wondered how someone can transition from I have a dick in my brain, guys, you're going to have to just wait and find out. It's a pretty ridiculous story, quite amazing, but I just really hope you're starting to understand the energy of when two high-level thinkers meet and the stuff that we talk about, aside from the dick in the brain, and the level of communication that arises and what's available when you kind of look behind the scenes of life and humanity through something like ayahuasca. I'm not saying it's the only way to do it. I'm just saying through, you kind of get the sense of, I'm sure some of the stuff you hear and you're just like, I have no idea what they're talking about. And yet you can kind of see that in between themselves, it's just like their own little language. So it occurs because when you get to see something that words cannot explain, this is the only way that you can discuss it, is because you're trying to put it into some sort of context that you can understand as a human being, you can comprehend at the physical level, because what you've seen just completely does not belong there. But the truths in there and the wisdoms and the downloads and all that stuff, I hope you're really getting a lot of value from. So we'll keep this going. We got 2 more sections. Hope you're enjoying them. Let us know what you think. Elon@SatoriPrime.com. Talk to you guys soon.
Did you run through doors till you hit the floor? Did you read my eyes and my aching thoughts? Did you walk through walls till you had to grow? Oh my God, your smile and my soundless calls. Bye.